Trade facilitation. Bureaucratic delays and red tape pose a burden for moving goods across borders for traders. Trade facilitation, the simplification, modernization and harmonization of export and import processes, has therefore emerged as an important issue for the world trading system. WTO members concluded negotiations at the 2013 Hali Ministerial Conference on the landmark Trade Facilitation Agreement, which entered into force on the 22nd of February 2017 following its ratification by 2/3 of the WTO membership. The TFA contains provisions for expediting the movement, release and clearance of goods, including goods in transit. It also sets out measures for effective cooperation between customs and other appropriate authorities on trade facilitation and customs compliance issues. It further contains provisions for technical assistance and capacity building in this area. Trade facilitation is a concept directed towards reducing the complexity and cost of the trade transaction process and ensuring that all these activities take place in an efficient, transparent and predictable manner. Trade facilitation comprises the whole trade chain from exporter to importer, including transportation and payment, with emphasis on the border crossing and the agencies involved there. According to the United Nations Center for Trade Facilitation and Electronic Business, trade facilitation is defined as the simplification, standardization and harmonization of procedures and associated information flows required to move goods from seller to buyer and to make payment. A study by the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, UNCTAD, shows that a typical trade transaction passes through 27 to 30 parties, including brokers, banks, carriers, sureties and freight forwarders. At least 40 documents are needed, not only for government authorities but also for related businesses. Over 200 data elements are typically requested, of which 60 to 70% are rekeyed at least once, while 15% are retyped 30 times. An OECD study concludes that estimates of trade transaction costs range from 2 to 15% of the total transaction value and that an approximate estimate for world trade is $550 billion each year. This results in an enormous amount of time and money wasted and is hampering business, stifling growth and holding back economic development, particularly in developing countries. Simple international trade procedures, based on global standards and recommendations, are considered very important by all countries. Landlocked countries are particularly vulnerable, since they depend on the trade procedures of their neighbors. Small and medium-sized enterprises also stand to gain more from trade facilitation efforts since the costs of complying with cumbersome procedures are proportionally higher for them. Basic principles of trade facilitation. In order to provide a worldwide accepted, consistent, transparent and predictable environment for international trade transactions, it is necessary to have much greater harmonization of applicable laws and regulations. simplification of administrative and commercial formalities, procedures and documents, standardization and integration of information and requirements, and the use of technologies so as to exchange this information efficiently. Transparency, which implies making information on border requirements and procedures available and easily accessible to all interested parties. Trade facilitation takes place at national, regional and international levels. At the national level, it focuses on harmonizing and simplifying the trade-related structures and procedures within a country. As goods cross international borders, they move from one legal and administrative jurisdiction to another. It is therefore essential to standardize norms internationally. Here lies the important role of the United Nations, the World Trade Organization, other intergovernmental bodies and the international business organizations that develop the tools for facilitating trade.
Estimates show that the full implementation of the TFA could reduce trade costs by an average of 14.3% and boost global trade by up to $1 trillion per year, with the biggest gains in the poorest countries. For the first time in WTO history, the requirement to implement the agreement is directly linked to the capacity of the country to do so. A Trade Facilitation Agreement facility has been created to help ensure developing and least developed countries obtain the assistance needed to reap the full benefits of the TFA.